Medieval times are tough, but it wasn't always like this. We once had a home and lived in peace until the Empire came. They destroyed our village, leaving only ruins behind. But a few of us survived. Together, we made a promise to rebuild our kingdom, rise from fallen nobles to mighty warriors, and take our revenge on the Empire. But will we succeed? Well, let's find out. Our main objective is to destroy the Empire, and to achieve that, we're gonna need a ton of things, from simple food to weapons and armor, and it will take time to turn this shabby place into a mighty kingdom, but for now, we are focused on laying the foundation, starting with building some place to eat and sleep, but to build all that, we're gonna need planks. Good thing that we already had some research done, including lumber, and once the research table was up, we went straight for stone cutting, since we will be needing a ton of it for the castle walls. And before going to sleep, we held a ceremony for Henry to proclaim him as our leader and king. From this moment forth, he will be the one to lead us to glory. On the next day, we planned a farm where we'll be growing rice and cotton for clothes. I also decided to plant some hill roots, and while it might not be fully medieval, it is our only option, unless we want to see someone die just because of a pity infection. Getting back, it was time to increase our researching capabilities, so we added some more space to our main building and placed an additional research table. And at this point, you might think that we had everything under control and it wouldn't take us long to take the Empire to their knees, but it appeared that the Empire found out about us and sent their mighty army, which included a single rat. Anyway, it was finally time to harvest rice, and we even set up a kitchen with a stove to cook fine vegetarian meals, and put a pin to that, because along the story you would understand why I chose specifically this type of food. And it was time for us to choose the name of our kingdom and city, and as a true medieval fan, it didn't take me long to come up with it. Our kingdom will be called The Central, and our city will be called Brigandes. And somehow it worked to our favor, because we attracted a wandering science who was blind. No wonder he's so smart, he lost his sight to obtain something greater, and he will be useful in progressing through researching tree. And we started researching tailoring to get to protective clothing and chain armor, and eventually to plate armor, which is the best possible gear you can obtain. Speaking of which, I completely forgot that we have a religion and believe in God, and it will be great to have a church in the middle of our village. But we were interrupted by raiders, or rather a raider, and after a little Mexican standoff and hours of running so that he would bleed out and pass out, we finally captured him. More or less, it's gonna be our popular strategy in capturing new warriors, because we're gonna need a lot of people to build a mighty army. Anyway, Henry held a speech to boost morale and encourage our citizens, but instead of increasing their mood, he made it even worse thanks to his terrible speech, which would last for several days. Well, one of the things we wanted to build for a long time was a prison, cause it would be an important part of capturing new members, and at some point, prison looked better than the place we were living, so I decided to build a medieval complex for our citizens, just to balance things up. And while we were solving our housing problems, we got a quest from the Empire to save one of their nobles, and as you already know, our main goal is to destroy them, but we would play it a little bit differently, because if we were to face them right now, we would definitely lose, so we needed to wait for the right moment to strike. And with that title, we got Psycasts points, which would be handy in the future. Research was going smoothly, but in order to research chain armor, we needed smithing, as well as for other things, like making weapons. But having weapons is one thing, and what we needed is a castle and a landscape advantage, especially when we're outnumbered, so we started building walls around the village. For now, we could take down anyone who dared to attack us, but one thing is for sure, we needed to increase our numbers, and quickly. And what is the best way to get new people apart from raiding your neighbors? But we weren't the only one who thought that way and got attacked by another faction. We were a little outnumbered, but they weren't much of fighters, only capable of setting things on fire, though Collins was severely injured, but he was gonna make it. Getting back to our raid, we got acquainted with our new friends and even successfully got 2 new recruits. We were happy to have some newcomers, but I suppose the feeling wasn't mutual. And like this, Henry had his hands full with recruiting, while other bunch was taking care of the city. We even built a medieval kill box or something similar, though as it appeared later on, just a breach in the wall was all we needed to take care of raiders. And after a while, we got a quest from the Empire in which one of their ships crashed on our territory and we needed to protect them, though I had no such idea. And once the enemy came, even though we didn't do anything, the Empire didn't need our help. But in the end, we managed to sneak one of the attackers, which was a big plus for us. And while waiting, we kept improving and started making some decent clothes, but we were still lacking in armor, especially when we were facing some powerful opponents, and we were able to defeat them only due to some terrain exploits, but we still were able to get our hands on new recruits. But while we increased a number of people in our city, I completely forgot about food, which was running really thin. So I increased our farm with rice, only to just increase it even more, and in the end I just planted a huge farm only for rice, which was bigger than the previous one. And it was time to make an armory, which would become a backbone of our future army. But first, we needed someone to put this armor on, and while they tried their best to mess themselves up, we still kept recruiting new knights to our ranks. At the same time, we started mining iron around the map, but there was only a handful amount of it, and thanks to our accomplishments, finding someone to trade with us would be troublesome at least. Though there were still other options like building a mine, but it would take us a while to get there, and researching in itself was a problem, because we could research basic weapons, but for advanced ones we needed schematics which I couldn't find anywhere, so we would have to use whatever we have in our toolbox. Unless Empire would be so kind to give us some of their weapons, which by the way, all of the highest quality. And we could finally concentrate on something apart from fighting. That's what I wish to say, while our slaves made a riot and tried to escape, though unsuccessfully, but it still was quite troublesome, considering that we didn't have much manpower to spare. Some time has passed and we changed, got better, though something still remained the same. But we got a quest from the Empire to protect one of their prisoners against House Hesse, and it was said that there would be 2 raids, but you couldn't imagine my reaction when both of them attacked us at the same time. I even tried to let the prisoner go, but apparently it didn't change anything, except their damaged reputation with the Empire, and House Hesse was still eager to destroy us. But thanks to our tactical advantage, we managed to fight them off. But Henry was injured during the fight, and after some time the second wave arrived, but they couldn't break through and just ran away. And after that bad faith deal, he finally made his mind to wage a war against them, and to our luck we found a deserter who was running from the Empire, and by helping him we would become their enemy. And as I mentioned earlier, Empire's soldiers have excellent armor and weapons, but dealing with only 2 of them wasn't something difficult, and we even captured one of them, which of course made Empire furious, but that's what we wanted. And from this moment, we were officially at war against the Empire to fight for our freedom, and not because we just like killing them. Anyway, we finally had everything ready for creating plate armor, and after some time the full set was ready, and you might have guessed, but our army will be formed not only with knights but also with ranged units like archers. And that decision was made because of a very simple reason. When we fight, we need to control melee units, which sometimes could be troublesome, At the same time, ranged units don't require this meticulous control, which makes them a great option, but one of their downfalls is that they are bad in taking punches, but that's something we can work with. In the meantime, we kept raiding nearby villages and defending against other factions who wanted to take us down, and we even put an advanced research table only to get it destroyed by one of our citizens. Well, it wasn't like it was that big of a deal. But what was a big deal was that Cold Snap broke down and we found ourselves in a tricky situation because at that point we didn't have enough food and tried to hunt down some animals, which helped a lot, but it turned out that some of our citizens didn't approve killing animals, let alone eating them, and apparently they were cannibals, which was odd at best. And at around same time we got refugees asking for help, and taking into account our need for more people, I saw it as an opportunity, which didn't play out that well because it looked more like a massive killing rather than a recruiting company, but at least we captured a few of them. We kept recruiting new people, especially Empire Knights, who were by default great warriors, and at some point we had more than 20 people in our army, which was by far the biggest colony I've ever had, and with enough amount of armor and weapons we could equip every single one of them to the teeth. And with this degree of preparation we were finally ready for the final battle against the Empire. And I must say that this is just shocking. Forget about 20, even if we brought 30 people, it still would be too much for us to handle. But there's no backing down now. It's not like we are going back without killing every single thing on this map. I started placing everyone on their positions, and once it was done, we were ready. And I didn't have a trebuchet, so we needed to get their attention in an old way. First wave started running, but we've suffered some casualties and had many injured. I quickly retreated and put sleeping spots to treat wounded and let them rest. Some died before I could save them, and while we were trying to catch our breath, some of our archers started killing guards from distance one by one. It was effective, but very soon we needed to retreat. After some time we were ready to attack the castle and divided our forces into groups. One would be breach the castle, while others would be taking enemies down from distance. We made it to the king's chambers, where we captured an enemy's lord and killed him. After killing their lord, it didn't take us long to clear the whole castle and take it under our control, but we lost too many knights, and Henry was deadly injured. The infection was eating in his bones, and he couldn't even move. And soon the enemy's reinforcements would be there, and without any means to escape, this castle became our grave. We took our revenge on the Empire and destroyed their castle, but at the same time we paid a grave price. It kept me wondering, was it really the right decision to seek revenge on them? Or perhaps we could have resolved it in a different way, without killing anybody.